Last session, you stared down the desert's cruel maths, meat and jerky enough to last, but your water was gone. The decision was stark. Risk Kunaten Keep for its wells, then track the Skylark west before the sand or patrols pinned you in. Ombra and Avourel volunteered for the water run, while the rest watched the routes, counted patrol timings, and kept low. Inside the keep, horror met order. Crucified townsfolk told you what the gnolls had done. The undead among them still lurched, one lapping at a trough as water poured uselessly through a ribcage. The gnolls themselves marched in timed ranks, sergeants barking cadence. Ombra and Avourel waited out a pair at the pump, oiled the handle, and drew in whispers, canteens first, then your stitched 20-gallon bladder. They spotted a stout barrel, rolled it despite the visibility, and slipped away through the gaps. They returned half an hour later, one man invisible, one staggering under the bladder, a ghost-guided barrel weaving toward your position. Farid cannibalized crucifix timbers and nails into a simple sled, lashing a frame that cradled the barrel so it could be dragged rather than shoved. You left in darkness, the air cold enough to sting. At dawn, a thin mist clung to the dunes. Beetles raised their legs to catch droplets and taught you to do the same. You rigged cloaks and a parasol as dew catchers, gleaning a precious gallon. Sleep was broken and treacherous. The dunes crept over you when you lay down, and the sand drank any blood as soon as it fell. So you traveled in the cool and watched the keep's patrols by spyglass from afar. Tracking the Skylark's gouge through the dunes led you to a white, talc-fine expanse. The first ankheg burst beneath Farid, dragging him close and biting with acid-slick mandibles. Ombra's blast seared its side. Avourel's arrow found the joint, and Salahaddin's sword flared with radiant force as he carved it down. Another sprang under Salahaddin's feet. Salah Kamara, half sinking in quicksand, steadied his aim and dropped one with a single crossbow bolt he couldn't quite believe. Avourel sprinted, set off yet another, and lived long enough to tell you he'd run right over it. When one re-burrowed and spat a line of acid, you braced, took the burn, and finished it together. The lesson stuck. Single file, step where the last person stood, and don't probe the white sand without cause. One waterskin tore and bled into the ever-thirsty desert, but you made the far side. By dusk, you could see the Skylark. You chose to close at first light. Of the 70 souls who lifted off under a hail of bolts, 50 remain. 3 engineers, 3 tired soldiers, and civilians who have 9 days of supplies after sharing with you. The chief engineer believes she can recharge the ship's great power stone by burning the enchanted wrappings of the night-roaming Anubian mummies, siphoning their long-bound magic into the stone over 8 hours, if you bring back enough. You traded into sound armor, set due rigs for morning, and agreed to rest before hunting the mummies by night. You also resolved to dispatch a sending message to the Sultana of Al-Kirat to warn of Kunaten Keep's fall. With the dunes still hungry at your heels, you stood at the crash site with a plan and just enough time to make it matter.